What if the smarter you are, the harder it is to be happy? Not as a punishment. Not as a coincidence. But as a direct psychological consequence of the very intelligence that makes you exceptional in every other area of your life. Stay right there. Because what psychology knows about intelligent people and happiness is going to explain something about yourself that you have never been able to fully put into words until right now. If you are new here, subscribe right now and drop a comment below telling me, do you consider yourself someone who thinks too much? I read every single comment. Now let us get into it. The paradox nobody talks about. There is a paradox sitting quietly at the center of intelligent people's lives. The same mind that solves complex problems, sees patterns others miss, processes information at extraordinary depth, and navigates the world with unusual clarity, that same mind makes the simple experience of being happy profoundly difficult. And most intelligent people know this about themselves without having the language to explain it. They know that they overthink situations that other people move through effortlessly. That they cannot enjoy the present moment without simultaneously analyzing it. That they see the complexity and the contradiction in things that other people accept simply and move on from. That the happiness that seems to come so naturally to people around them feels strangely elusive, not because their lives are worse but because their minds will not let them rest inside a good moment long enough to fully feel it. This is not a flaw. It is not ingratitude. It is not pessimism. It is the psychological consequence of a mind that was built for depth, operating in a world that mostly rewards surface. And understanding it, really understanding it, is the first step toward changing the relationship between your intelligence and your happiness in a way that does not require you to become less of who you are. Why the intelligent mind works against happiness. Psychology has identified several specific mechanisms through which high intelligence directly interferes with the experience of happiness. And once you see them, you will recognize them immediately in your own life. The first mechanism is overthinking. The intelligent mind does not accept things at face value. It interrogates them. It runs scenarios. It examines outcomes. It considers what could go wrong and how likely each possibility is, and what the implications of each possibility would be, and what that would mean for the next decision and the one after that. This is extraordinarily useful when solving real problems. It is extraordinarily destructive when applied to the experience of a good moment. The person who cannot stop analyzing their own happiness while they are experiencing it is not actually experiencing it. They are observing it from a distance. Processing it rather than feeling it. And by the time the analysis is complete, the moment is gone. The second mechanism is awareness of complexity. Intelligent people see more of reality than most people do. They see the nuance, the contradiction, the moral complexity, the systemic problems, the suffering that exists alongside the beauty. They cannot unsee what they have seen. And carrying that awareness into moments that are supposed to be simply joyful creates a weight that less aware minds simply do not carry. The person who sees everything finds it difficult to fully enjoy anything. Not because they are broken, but because their vision is too wide and too honest to allow the comfortable simplification that happiness often requires. The third mechanism is high standards applied to their own emotional experience. Intelligent people apply the same exacting standards to their inner life that they apply to everything else. They are not satisfied with approximate answers or good enough solutions. And they are not satisfied with ordinary happiness. The happiness available in everyday life, the simple pleasures, the comfortable routines, the small ordinary joys, often feels insufficient to a mind that is capable of imagining something so much richer and deeper and more meaningful. And so they wait for the happiness that matches the depth of what they are capable of feeling. And the waiting itself becomes the condition of their lives. The specific ways it shows up. Here is where this gets personal. Because the struggle between intelligence and happiness shows up in very specific and recognizable patterns. Intelligent people struggle to be present. They live significantly in the past, analyzing what happened and what they could have done differently, and in the future anticipating what might happen and preparing for every possible outcome. The present moment, which is the only place happiness actually exists, is the place they spend the least time. Intelligent people struggle with meaning. They cannot simply go through the motions of a life without asking why. What is the point of this? Does this matter? Is this the right direction? These questions are important. But they make it nearly impossible to simply enjoy the life you are living while you are also interrogating whether it is the right life. Intelligent people struggle with comparison. Not the ordinary social comparison of measuring yourself against your peers. A deeper comparison. Between who you are and who you could be. Between the life you are living and the life you can so clearly imagine. Between what you have done and what you know you are capable of doing. That gap, always visible, always measuring, makes satisfaction with the present nearly impossible. Intelligent people struggle with loneliness. Not always the loneliness of being alone. The loneliness of being in a world that does not quite operate at the frequency of their inner life. Of having conversations that never quite go deep enough. Of feeling fundamentally different from most people around them in ways that are real but difficult to articulate without sounding arrogant. Right here in the middle of this video, I want to stop and ask you directly. Which one of those patterns do you recognize most powerfully in your own life? The overthinking. The struggle with presence. The gap between who you are and who you know you could be. The loneliness of depth in a surface-level world. Drop it in the comments right now. Be honest. Because the most important conversations in this community happen in the comments section. And your honesty creates permission for someone else to be honest too. If you are not yet subscribed, please do that right now. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell. We have conversations here about psychology and the inner life that you will not find anywhere else. Now let us finish this. What psychology says about the path forward. The answer to the struggle between intelligence and happiness is not to think less. You cannot think less. That is not how the mind works. And even if it were possible, it would not be desirable. Your intelligence is not the enemy of your happiness. The unmanaged relationship between your intelligence and your emotional life is. Here is what the research and the psychology actually point toward. The first insight is that happiness for intelligent people requires meaning more than it requires pleasure. Ordinary pleasures, comfort, entertainment, social approval, accumulation of things do not satisfy the intelligent mind for long. What satisfies it is the sense of genuine purpose. Of working on something that matters. Of using the depth of the mind for something that deserves it. Research by psychologist Martin Seligman shows that the highest and most sustainable form of human happiness is not pleasure but engagement and meaning. The state of being fully absorbed in something genuinely important. The sense that what you are doing connects to something larger than the immediate moment. Intelligent people who are genuinely unhappy are often intelligent people who have not yet found the problem worthy of their full capacity. Who are applying their extraordinary minds to ordinary things and wondering why ordinary levels of satisfaction are all they feel in return. The second insight is that intelligent people need to learn the skill of presence. Not as a spiritual concept. As a practical psychological skill. The ability to deliberately bring the attention back to the current moment. To interrupt the analysis and the anticipation long enough to actually inhabit the experience that is happening right now. This is harder for intelligent people than for almost anyone else. Because the mind is so capable and so active that redirecting it requires genuine effort. But the research on mindfulness consistently shows that the ability to be present, however briefly, however imperfectly, is one of the strongest predictors of experienced happiness across all personality types, including the highly intelligent. The third insight is that connection matters more than most intelligent people allow themselves to admit. Intelligent people often underinvest in relationships. Because relationships are messy and irrational and resistant to the kind of clear analysis that feels productive. Because vulnerability is uncomfortable and depth is hard to find, and most social interaction feels like it operates several levels below where the intelligent mind actually lives. But the research on human happiness is unambiguous on this point. The quality of your relationships is the single strongest predictor of your long-term happiness and well-being. Not your intelligence. Not your achievements. Not the significance of the problems you solve. Who you are genuinely connected to. And how deeply. Intelligent people who allow themselves to be known fully, vulnerably, without the performance of capability and competence report significantly higher levels of happiness than those who maintain the distance that intelligence can so easily create. Here is the truth about intelligent people and happiness that most psychology conversations never quite arrive at. The struggle is not a sentence. It is an invitation. The overthinking that makes simple happiness elusive is the same capacity that makes profound meaning possible. The awareness of complexity that makes comfort difficult is the same awareness that makes genuine wisdom available. The high standards that make ordinary satisfaction insufficient are the same standards that drive extraordinary contribution. The intelligence is not the obstacle. It is the raw material. The invitation is to stop trying to use your intelligence to achieve the same kind of happiness that people who think less deeply seem to access effortlessly. That happiness was never designed for the way your mind works. The happiness that is designed for your mind is deeper than that. Harder won. Less constant. But when it arrives when you are genuinely engaged with work that matters, connected to people who truly know you, present enough to actually feel the moments your life is made of, it is richer than anything the simpler version could offer. You were not built for easy happiness. You were built for meaningful aliveness. And there is a difference between those two things that is worth every bit of the struggle it takes to find it. If this video reached something real in you today, please do 3 things right now. Like this video so more intelligent people who have always felt this way but never had the language for it can finally find this conversation. Drop a comment below telling me one area of your life where you want to stop overthinking and start actually living. I read every single one, and your honesty in this community matters deeply. And if you are not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell right now. We go deep every single week on psychology, intelligence, self-understanding, and the real work of building a life that your mind can actually settle into. You deserve happiness that matches the depth of who you are. I will see you in the next one.